my strong recommendation is rather than pretend they don't exist, rather than downplaying them, let's embrace these changes. Let's develop a strategy to keep up to date with these changes. Let's respect our privacy rights of our website visitors and help avoid the consequences of noncompliance.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another A2 hosting show. Great webinar today with my friend Hans from Termageddon. Going to be talking about upcoming regulations, laws, and other things affecting privacy. And I want to preempt all this, Hans, and share a little bit. We did an interview with you, I did, to talk about your journey. So just so everybody knows, Hans' background, you can go to YouTube. I'll put the link here in just a second for that story. But he started out as an agency owner, grew a great agency, sold it, saw this need for people like him, agency owners, to be able to navigate privacy on the internet. Now, we know GDPR was a big rock in the ocean here, and it's coming, and for good reason. Like, we need to protect each other online. However, Hans's work from Termageddon and his partner and wife, Donetta, incredible people doing really, really good work. I'm really excited, and I thank you today, Hans, for being on this A2 show and sharing all this. Like, I saw your slides. This is a loaded thing. I hope you all have notes ready to go because you're going to want to take this.
And please also, I know a lot of people don't want to ask questions about privacy because, like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know if it's going to sound weird or off. I promise you, well, actually, I shouldn't say this because every week I get a new surprise here or there, but please ask whatever questions you have. I am more than happy to answer them. And typically what happens during these presentations is like no one asks any questions. And then all of a sudden one person asks a question and then it flows. So I will try to get through this presentation efficiently so that we can have a time to chat and answer any questions anyone directly has. And that probably goes into good leeway, which is one of my main slides to start off today's presentation, which is, please note everything I share today is for informational purposes only, should not be considered legal advice. Always speak to your attorney before making legal decisions. And Corey, thank you so much for having me. Corey, for anyone who doesn't know, is kind of my hero. I've said it so many times. I was so nervous the first time I met him. I thought he'd want nothing to do with me. And he was just like, he welcomed me with open arms like he does everyone. And so I'm just pumped. He's just always taking care of everyone around him. And I'm just thankful that you're giving me a chance to share what's going on and what we're seeing. So
You are very welcome, and thank you, my friend. All right, here's my question to get you started. Hans, what's coming up next that we need to know about?
well, Corey, I would love to talk about that more. In fact, I have this nifty little presentation that may be good leeway into getting started, if that sounds good with you.
Let's roll.
So we're going to be talking about changes that are happening in privacy. I think a lot of website owners think, oh, once I get a privacy policy created, I'm good to go forever. And I wish it was that simple. I really do. And in my previous interview with Corey, I was talking about how, I used to copy and paste privacy policies from other people's websites whenever my clients would ask me, what should I do for a privacy policy? And that never felt right. And I think everyone knows that doesn't feel right. And one of the things that happens when you copy out someone else's privacy policy is that you're not creating a strategy to keep it up to date over time. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. Why is it important to embrace privacy rather than pretend it doesn't exist? Our industry is getting regulated. I highly recommend we embrace it rather than pretend it doesn't exist because it's just going to get more important. Privacy is becoming more important, not less important over time. So today I'm going to be talking to you about that and specifically talk about the 2025 privacy law changes that we're going to be seeing. We're also going to talk about a growing rise in website related lawsuits and demand letters that I personally have experience with. Not like I've had conversations with people, non-Termageddon customers, of course, but I've had conversations with people dealing with five-figure demand letters that I want to raise awareness of. I cannot stress the importance of wanting to at least hear me out on this presentation. So, okay, a little bit about me. My name is Hans. I ran a 12-person web agency prior to marrying a privacy attorney, which kind of changed the direction of my life. I was going to be an agency owner forever. Absolutely loved it. It's just life happens and you fall in love with a privacy attorney and things change. So my wife and I, Donata, we created Termageddon together. She's the brains of the operation. She's the privacy attorney. Just a few months ago, she was elected to be the American Bar's representative to the United Nations. So I'm a glorified house husband at this point. Um, uh, but I seem to have some value every now and then. And really my goal, so now I work at Termageddon. That's the company I co-founded with Donata. And I really spend my time working with web designers, providing education whenever I can. Just as someone who used to not really value privacy policies, to be honest. And then learning what I've learned, I've come to really become passionate about this. And I always try to make a discussion about privacy policies a little bit more entertaining than watching paint dry. So hopefully that's your experience today. I shared this earlier, but I do want to just reiterate nothing in this information or nothing in this presentation should be considered legal advice. It's provided for informational purposes only. Here's the overview of what I want to share today, and then we're going to go into some Q&A. I'm going to talk about the basics. I know this stuff can feel overwhelming, all these privacy things happening. So I want to get some just a ground floor established for us today so that we can all kind of understand the basics of privacy. Um, and then understand existing privacy laws. And I think that's going to give us the ability to then talk about what's happening in 2025, these rise in lawsuits, summary of the problem and how you can go about protecting your business. And if you build websites for clients, how you can help educate your clients about this stuff and let them protect themselves, and you protect your own agency by providing that information to your clients. Okay, so the basics. These are like 5 factors. This is my first time actually sharing this in a presentation, so I hope it resonates with people. But I have kind of 5 facts that I think really help solidify the foundation of privacy as it relates to websites. So privacy laws exist to protect people's data. So Corey already mentioned GDPR. There's dozens of other privacy laws out there as well. And privacy laws are basically when governments come together and we want to protect our people's data. What does that mean? They're going to regulate people's names, their phone numbers, their email addresses. It's important to understand these privacy laws are designed to make your personal data feel like what it is, which is your own data. My name is my name. My phone number is my phone number. My email is my email. That's my right. That's not, companies can't just take that and do whatever they want with it. And that's what privacy laws are designed to do, to protect that data and say, hey, I don't care where you're located at, Mr. Website owner or Mrs. Website owner. What I care about is protecting our people's data. So if regardless of where you're located, if you're collecting our people's data, you may need to comply with our laws. Each privacy law, unfortunately, has its own unique requirements. In fact, it also has its own unique definitions, but I'm going to keep it on requirements. Each privacy law has its own unique requirements, such as what you need to disclose in your privacy policy. And some privacy laws apply only to bigger businesses. In fact, there's lots of privacy laws that only apply to bigger businesses. But then there's privacy laws that apply to any website owner that collects as little as an email address on a contact form, or as little as an IP address behind the scenes for analytics or security purposes. There are many privacy laws that can apply the moment you start collecting personal data from a website visitor. There's penalties to noncompliance with these privacy laws. Some are fines. Other laws allow people to sue website owners. And then website owners tend to get traffic and inquiries from across state lines or even country lines. And because of that, multiple privacy laws could apply to one individual. So I'm in Illinois. I don't have a privacy law related to websites, or a privacy law that protects me with regard to visiting websites. There's biometric laws in Illinois, but that's outside of the scope of this conversation. So as an Illinois resident, I don't have really privacy rights. But as a website owner who runs my business out of Illinois, I get traffic from all over. I may be responsible for complying with the privacy laws in different states or countries, depending on whose data am I collecting and from what areas. So I say all this to summarize the fact that website owners need to find out what privacy laws apply to them, because that will dictate the way you operate your business and the disclosures you need to make in your privacy policy. Corey, were you able to follow that? I'm going to use you as a litmus test. Did that make sense?
I loved it. And what I was thinking is, I loved how you started, the premise. We can think of laws and regulations as like, oh gosh, just another thing. But in the spirit of this, especially for agency owners, Hans, and you were one, is how we share that with clients. One, it's a necessity. But think about the spirit of what it does, and I get it. Now, none of us never like, rules and boundaries and stuff necessarily, but I think you started off with like, think about the heart of this is protecting data. It's being a good citizen online. That right there tips everything down to your five framework to me.
When I first started Termageddon, I was all about like, oh, we should avoid lawsuits and fines. And I'm not ignoring the fact that that is probably a large reason why people to come to companies like Termageddon. But after years of being in this industry, I've come to have the same exact mindset, which is like, what are we talking about here, people? Like, when you visit a website, do you want all your data being hawked off and sold off to third parties who then start sending you text message spam? Do you really want that? No, no one does. And so who are we then to like not respect the visitors of our websites? And I have gotten to that more from a place of love more than a place of fear, I would say. And I think it's both. It's like, wow, if we embrace privacy, we knock out two birds with one stone. So good. Good. So big takeaway, privacy laws protect people. Privacy laws don't care where your business is located. What matters is whose data are we collecting as website owners, because those laws may apply to us and may require us to make very specific disclosures in our policies. Now, I know this is probably a little overwhelming just right at first glance, but and we're not going to go into detail on these privacy laws. This is more so a visual for just showing how many privacy laws exist. This is a non-complete list. I just ran out of room on the slide. These are some of the more popular laws that kind of garner a lot of attention online. Of course, you have the GDPRs, the CPRAs, which some people call CCPA, California Privacy Rights Act. Technically, it's actually called CPRA. It used to be called CCPA. Anyways, I'm nerding out too much on that. I'm going to move on. But there are a handful of laws out there, and that's what this slide is intended to demonstrate. There are laws out there to already protect people that are already in place. Australia, they got a law for almost 30 years. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh. Almost 40 years now. Oh man. That's right. Cause I'm almost 40 years old. So yeah, these privacy laws have existed and there's more being passed than ever before and more are increasing. So, and I shared this earlier, but some of these laws only apply to larger businesses. And what's a larger business? In general, and this isn't for every law, for many of them, though, it's, do you generate $25 million a year and more in revenue? Do you annually process the data of 100,000 or more residents of California? Um, or do you derive 50% or more of your revenue from selling the personal information of California consumers? The vast majority of people I interact with on a daily basis are like an absolute no on all of those factors. Of course, we'd all like to make $25 million a year or more in revenue, but that's just not where we're at as business owners or small business owners, at least for where you're at. And that's okay. But unfortunately, it doesn't excuse us from other privacy laws, which can start applying the moment you collect a single piece of data. Okay, so we have all these laws that have gone into effect and that have already existed that already require a privacy policy. Some may apply to us, some may not. Obviously, we have to identify which ones apply to us, which I'll talk about later here. But this slide's really intended to discuss the fact that privacy laws are constantly changing. Um, just last month, Australia made amendments to their privacy law. The 1988 privacy law will be amended. And shortly we'll have new disclosure requirements, new responsibilities we have as website owners or just anyone who needs to comply with that law. And then for 2025, we have eight, eight new US privacy laws going into effect. I am very happy my wife handles all that because this would be beyond me on so many levels. But we have 8 new laws going into effect, and as you'll see, they're all in the US. That's just a coincidence. Previous years, it's been just the EU. Previous years, it's been Canada. It just kind of comes and goes like this. But we have 8 new laws going into effect next year. They happen to be state specific. Why is that? Because in America, there is no federal privacy law that is a general privacy law. There's like HIPAA and COPA and stuff like that. HIPAA is for medical informational websites or medical websites that collect medical data. COPA is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act that targets children, or websites that are designed for children. But these generic laws, there's nothing like that on a federal level. So what we have is individual states proposing their own laws. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that people are getting a right to their privacy. I'm very happy to see that. What I find frustrating as a website owner is like, wait, now I have 8 new laws to comply with just because I do business throughout the US. Like that can be a lot. And on the right-hand side, we do have links here, just providing more information on each of these laws. That's that first link. And then the second link, our global privacy bill tracker, just shows the privacy bills we're monitoring on a global level, which you're welcome to check out as well. Now, here's the good news for 2025. These 8 new privacy laws are only applying to bigger businesses. So, bit of relief for myself and anyone else who's a small business owner. Um, I believe SF-262 is Iowa. Let me make sure. Yeah. So Iowa, for example, only applies to any person conducting business in Iowa or producing products or services that are targeted to residents of Iowa that meet one of the following requirements. So, okay, I offer services. I do business with anyone in Iowa for my web design services, for example. But do you annually control or process the personal data of 100,000 or more Iowa residents, or control or process the personal data of at least 25,000 Iowa residents and derive 50% of gross revenue from the sale of personal data every year? Typically, these two factors just knock out a typical small business owner, where no, I don't do either of those. Therefore, this law doesn't apply to me. So we may be all sitting here probably being like, oh, good. We small business owners don't need to worry about the 25 privacy laws. And that's a factual statement. The problem is that that is not all that's going on right now in privacy. So we've been made aware of a privacy law called CiPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, which is a 30-year-old privacy law intended for regulating phone third-party tracking. So like when you call someone, if someone's like listening on the other line, California created regulations around that 30 years ago. Good. I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't want to be on a phone call and have someone else is secretly listening or monitoring my conversation. So I think that's something really awesome. The problem is that this law has been recently reinterpreted, where they're considering what's called a communication to also be related to website owners. And if your website is listening with third-party technologies to a website visitor visiting the website, you may be subject to this privacy law. And what that basically means is that when we're installing tracking technologies, Facebook Pixel, for example, other like analytics tools, the heat tracking software, tough stuff, IP reverse technology lookup tools. Gosh, the list goes on and on. I mean, arguably a YouTube video embed could track a user. We have implemented tracking technologies where, as a website visitor visiting this site, all of a sudden their data just got sent off to Google, who can now monitor the behavior of this user, or this data got sent off to Facebook, who can now put a pixel on your browser and start tracking you and send you advertisements that they so pleased to do so. And so what's happening is a bunch of attorneys, I shouldn't say a bunch, a small group of attorneys, but a growing number of attorneys are filing demand letters and sending out demand letters to random website owners all over the world, primarily California, also primarily the United States. But I've talked to someone from Canada dealing with this. I've talked to someone from the UK dealing with this. And I'm just like, I imagine if I've talked to over a dozen people, like this must be, I would guess like 10,000 demand letters have been sent out over the last year, just trying to make those numbers make sense in my head. I don't know how many have been submitted. We have interviewed one of the lead attorneys defending small businesses against these lawsuits in our podcast. It's the podcast interview with Mr. Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, one of our more recent podcast interviews on our Term Again site. But he was talking about he's seeing dozens of these being submitted every day. I believe about a dozen a day he was seeing at the time of the recording 3 or 4 months ago. Okay, so this is such a perfect example of why I think embracing privacy law changes is so important, because in one breath, we're like seeing all these 25 privacy laws and be like, oh, none of these affect me. I'm good to go forever. But in the same breath, it's like, oh, wait, there's this undercurrent of these growing number of fines being, or lawsuit demand letters being issued where people are seeking $30,000 in damages, $50,000 in damages, and $60,000 in damages. One item in particular was a veteran who I spoke to on the phone, one person veteran, tiny e-commerce shop selling patches to other veterans. And he's dealing with a $30,000 demand letter. And it's just so heartbreaking to have these conversations with these people and to learn like what they're going through. And I'm starting to realize I probably sound like fear mongering, and I'm sorry for that. I am. I don't mean to be. I just can't tell you what it's like being on a phone call with a small business owner who is telling me this stuff. I'm traumatized because I'm like sitting there, I'm like, dude, had I not married a privacy attorney, I would not have known any of this. And so I'm just motivated to share what needs to be done to address this. And I'll talk about that right now. So yeah, term again, of course that can be a solution, but I don't need to sell term again. Like what needs to happen here to resolve this immediate issue is you need to add a consent solution to your website, a cookie consent solution that blocks these third-party technologies. And only after a user clicks accept all are those technologies allowed to load and track users. So to put this in a good example, a cookie consent could block that Facebook pixel on your site for your California visitors. And only after the visitor clicks accept all are we allowed to use Facebook pixel and place it on the browser. That's an extremely important thing. And to go back from that place of love standpoint, when someone visits your website, maybe you have a website that maybe not everyone wants to visit. Maybe it's a site that you don't yourself want anyone to know you're visiting. Maybe you're, I don't know, trying to get a divorce and you're going to a divorce attorney website or something like that. And all of a sudden they're tracking you and then sending you ads on your Facebook feed like, hey, call us to get your divorce. Like, oh my gosh, like I don't want that. So there's a reason why this is valid. But I understand the fear aspect too. And how do you solve the CiPA issue? You put a cookie consent that blocks third-party technologies. Only after a user clicks accept are we allowed to place those scripts. And now all of a sudden, we don't just take our website visitors and just hawk their data off to third-party companies. We give them a choice. And I know a lot of people like cookie consent banners are annoying. I'm not disagreeing with that fact, but a properly built cookie consent banner respects the rights of your privacy, respects the privacy rights of your website visitors. And I think that's something worth fighting for. And I think as the years progress, more and more people are going to understand that. All right, I'm going to get off my pedestal now and keep us moving along here. Okay, so what does this all tell us? Privacy is becoming a bigger deal. It's becoming more important, not less important. If you do take a look at that global privacy bill tracker, dozens, I probably 2 dozen or more privacy bills are being proposed right now. Enforcements are increasing, and there's even opportunistic attorneys out there um, sending demand letters. And by the way, for what it's worth, out of the dozen-ish small business owners I talked to, I believe 2 of them are going to try to fight it. 10 of them decided to settle, and the settlements are. I don't want to share. Like I'm starting to realize I don't want to share too much information of personal conversations, but they're in the 4 figures, but then that's not including attorney's fees on top of that. So it's still just so expensive. Um, you can't just have a static one-time approach to privacy or any of this stuff, really. We have to acknowledge our industry is getting regulated. We need to embrace this stuff. We need to have a strategy to keep up to date with this ever-changing privacy law landscape we now live in. And that's what I encourage everyone to consider. Also, I do want to use this as an opportunity to kind of just share some like really what I would consider to be really easy ways you can just start building websites that out the gate are respecting people's privacy. So whenever you have a form that you're asking people to type in and submit their data, have a checkbox where people have to agree to your privacy policy, have the privacy policy hyperlinked, have a checkbox where they have to actually check the box. Don't auto check it for them. Make it a required field, make it unselected by default. So meaning they have to take an explicit action and click accept all before submitting their data. Yes, that's only required under some privacy laws, but this is a good privacy practice just to do in general. Like you're getting a timestamp the moment someone consented to allowing their data to be processed. Make sure links to your policies are clearly visible within your footer. You do want to have individual links. You should not have just a legal page where you click legal and then you see all the policies. You should have a privacy policy link, terms, cookie policy, disclaimer, whatever the policies you need for your website, have them individually linked and clearly visible in your footer. That not only helps with complying with some privacy laws, but also it's a good accessibility practice and we shouldn't hide it. We should share it for whoever does want to click it. And let's be real, very few people are going to click those links, but for the ones who want to find it, let them find it. Let them find it easily. Make sure to have a cookie consent banner on your website, at the very least for visitors from California, Canada, including Quebec, EU, and UK. Those are some of the bigger ones. Some other privacy laws could apply where you need it in more places. Again, that comes back to like, you need to find out what laws apply to you first, which again, we'll talk about shortly here. Locally store your fonts. Okay, so this one is a good one. we've all installed Google. I'm sure many of us have installed Google Fonts, for example. Google Fonts was found to be non-compliant with GDPR back in 2022. And I don't know if Google's made changes on their end, but I do know that a very easy fix is to download the font from fonts.google.com, upload them as a custom font, and now you don't have to share data with Google just to pull in Google Fonts. So that's such an easy way. And not to mention your site loads faster, and now you don't need consent to load Google Fonts. So it's like, boom, like that's such an easy one. Locally store video embeds whenever you can. So, like, instead of embedding a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, like, can you locally load it or load it on another server you own and load it that way via an MP4 upload? Like, that's another easy way. It's not for everyone. Like, if you have a site with like 3,000 YouTube videos and all you do is want to grow your YouTube base, sure, maybe that's not as possible, but I've seen many websites where they have one YouTube video embed where it's like, oh man, that could have been locally stored so easily. And I get that there's page load speed concerns, but there's also ways to counter that. Like, so consider it at the very least. And if you don't do that, I would at the very least use YouTube's no cookie feature. I think it's maybe someone in the chat can help me here, but I think it's youtube-nocookie.com/ and then whatever the custom URL is. That basically, when you embed that feature, what that means is when someone visits the page, cookies don't get placed until after the user clicks play, which is it's better than nothing. That's so much better than nothing, because right now the way it works when you embed a YouTube video, someone just visits the page, they didn't even have to click play. You're being monitored. You're being tracked. So that's such a good way, good thing to take down. There's a lot of privacy-focused analytics tools out there these days. And Google Analytics 4 absolutely has made steps to be a more privacy-friendly tool. That's why for any of the old school people listening, like why Google Analytics dashboards used to be way more intense and comprehensive than compared to these days. It's because of regulations that have come in that have reduced Google's ability to track users. And again, I want to take a note. I love Google. I don't personally believe that they're out to like do anything evil or anything like that. I think they built their business on data harvesting and creating a business model around that. I don't think they ever did it from a place of evilness. I think they just did it because they could, and it gave everyone a great search engine and a bunch of awesome features. It's just regulations are coming in, so they're figuring out how to deal with it as well. But yeah, Google, if you're listening, I don't dislike you. I like you a lot. I use a lot of your tools. Remove unnecessary third-party scripts. This one's a big one. So there's multiple people that I spoke to who were being got demand letters because of a Facebook pixel for an ad campaign they ran 3 years ago and totally forgot about. They were like, "Oh my God, I forgot that we did this. We did this like forever ago. The ad campaign didn't work. We just forgot to remove the pixel." That's rough. Getting a demand letter for something like, oh, that's just rough. So get rid of stuff you don't need. Please remove it. Develop a strategy to keep your policies up to date over time and just keep up to date with changing legislation. This is another big one. And that's why, I shared earlier, 2025 privacy laws typically aren't applying to bigger businesses. For the ones that it do apply to, of course, you need to take a big look at it because there's a lot you got to address. But then behind the scenes, there's this thing called CiPA that barely anyone's talking about except the people who get the demand letters in the mail and ruins their day, week, month, or year. And yeah, so those are some of the best practices I like to share. So all right, so I was sharing like, hey, you got to find a strategy to keep up to date with these changes. Here are 2 options that I recommend. As you'll see, copying and pasting a legal document from someone else's website is not on this list. You'll also see that AI is not on this list. Neither of these routes are going to monitor privacy laws, keep you up to date with changes. Not to mention there's copyright infringements, copying someone else's legal doc. And AI, we have a great article where we tested AI. We actually were able to get ChatGPT to create a great privacy policy, but only after we specifically stated all 47 disclosures it needed to specifically make. And not to mention it wouldn't auto update over time. So what are these 2 routes I'm recommending? So number 1, and the best route, hire an attorney. Of course, the best route you can go is to hire an attorney because attorneys can provide legal advice. They can advise you on risk, let you know where your risk levels are, and help you make the decision, what type of risk am I willing to take on, and how can I respect people's privacy rights as much as possible. The con with hiring attorneys is that it's very expensive, especially for small business owners. Not everyone I speak to has 10 grand a year laying around to not only draft policies, but then monitor privacy laws on an ongoing basis just to keep a website privacy policy up to date over time. So for those people, I like to recommend a comprehensive website policies generator. I am biased. I will acknowledge I am absolutely biased in my opinion here. I run Termageddon with my wife. Granted, my wife used to try to charge my clients back when I was running my agency like 5 grand for a privacy policy, and I'm like, my clients are never going to pay that. So we created Termageddon as a alternative, and why I think it's a great alternative, a comprehensive one. First and foremost, it will help you identify the laws that apply to you. That is the foundation to how we approach our generator. First, find out the laws that apply, because that dictates absolutely everything else. What type of cookie consent solution you need, what disclosures you need to make in your policies. So find a tool that has a very big focus on helping you identify the laws that apply, because that dictates all the disclosures you need to make in your policies and so on. You want to find a tool that notifies you when new laws go into effect, when existing laws get amended, and when they need to make new disclosures for you. Ideally, you work with a tool that can automatically push those updates to your policy pages of your website, just helping reduce one less step and making it more frictionless. And then last but not least, the pros of comprehensive generators are that they're much more affordable. $119 a year is a typical price for a set of auto updating policies. Now, there's a con to these generators, which is that they're not legal service providers. And that's a con for sure, because like having someone be able to advise you and be like, "Ah, you don't need to worry about this or you don't need to worry about that." Oh, that'd be great. But instead, like these generators, at least a good mindset for a good generator would be to like, okay, we'd rather overdo it than underdo it, make sure we get the disclosures in there than not. But yeah, that is the downside. They can't provide you, they can't sit you down and be like, okay, here's your specific needs. This is what you need, and provide that type of level of service. So that's the trade-off. Um, Here's my one sales pitch. Hopefully I haven't been too salesy. I really don't mean to be, but I do have a one pitch for y'all. If you are a small business website owner, our tool is $119 a year. You're more than welcome to come check us out. You'll get 10% off your first payment if you use the promo code A2H. Yeah, so when you visit termageddon.com, just click the register button, and then later on, you'll see the option to put in your promo code, and that'll give you 10% off your first order. Also we have $12 a month plans too. So you can do $12 a month or $119 a year. I always say do the annuals so you save, you know, save some money, get 10% off a greater value, and you don't have to deal with 12 invoices every year, but that's up to you. And then for web designers and web agencies out there, we do have a little bit more of a special offer here for you. If you build websites for clients, that's exactly where I come from. I come from a place where I used to copy and paste privacy policies for my clients. So like I've had a lot to learn over the years, and we build Termageddon really to help web designers and agencies help their clients, because I didn't know what to tell my clients about this stuff. So our typical business model is we give agencies a free set of our policies forever in the hopes that they're willing to take the time, try us out, put us on your own website if you do like what you see. And if you do like what you see, you can recommend our solution to your clients via our reseller or affiliate programs. Reseller, where you buy from us at wholesale, one at a time, invoice your client the full retail price. Everyone wins. Clients get protected. You make a little recurring revenue. Everyone wins. Termageddon makes money too. Everyone wins. The affiliate program is where the client pays us. They use your promo code at checkout. We pay you recurring commissions for the lifetime of each sale. So our model, and I was actually sharing this with Corey right before the call recording started. It's like, I told Corey, I was like, I'm not going to pay Google for Google ads for my company. Like Google's the reason why all these regulations are here. Like I want to support the people who are in the industry now dealing with these regulations. And that's why our business model's like this. Now, if for the web designers and agency owners out there, we do have an application form, termageddon.com/A2. This is a special offer. Anyone still listening and taking the time to actually understand this stuff, instead of one free license, we'll give you two. Use one for your own website. Feel free to resell the other or gift it to one of your favorite clients, and do whatever you wish with it. We hope you like it. We hope you like what you see. Also, I do want to note Termageddon, unlike our competitors, we take a different approach where we only launch in countries that we're comfortable launching in. So right now we're currently available English only, and we're available for websites, businesses, website owners, nonprofits or businesses or non-businesses located in the US, Canada, Ireland, UK, and Australia. Very soon, though, we have some very exciting news coming. So if you are outside of that, like in Sweden or Norway or anywhere in Europe, South Africa, I'm going to stop there, but feel free to still apply to be a partner, an agency partner, if you'd like us to set you up to be notified when we launch in your country. So we got some good stuff coming very soon here. So, okay, done with the sales pitch. Let's get into that conclusion. So Privacy laws are here to stay. More are coming. My strong recommendation is rather than pretend they don't exist, rather than downplaying them, let's embrace these changes. Let's develop a strategy to keep up to date with these changes. Let's respect our privacy rights of our website visitors and help avoid the consequences of noncompliance. And as a bonus conclusion, for any web designers or agencies out there, this is an example of one of the assets we provide our agency partners, but I want anyone to have this for free. This is our website policies waiver. And this is something I'm a big believer in, which is that when we build websites for clients, we install contact forms, we install analytics tools, maybe we install security tools like reCAPTCHA or something like that. We need to inform our customers like, hey, I may have built this stuff for you that collects this data, but data is regulated. Please note it is your responsibility to comply with laws, not mine. And please sign this waiver acknowledging that I told you this. And in the waiver I provide here, this free asset, it gives options that the client can choose from, like I will provide you with my policies, or I choose not to have policies. And then if you want to recommend term again, we've easily allowed our little option in there as well. If you don't want to recommend term again, just delete us. Um, and I always say, like, for the clients that decline, they sign it, the waiver, and decline policies. Don't think of that as a loss. That is a win for you as the agency, because what just happened, you captured documentation yourself that the client fully understands they're the ones responsible for policies. So if they decline policies, that's no problem. They're business owners. Let them make that decision. We as agency owners should not be making that decision, though, being like, oh, my client's too small, therefore I don't need to think about, I don't even need to mention this to them. Like, that's the misstep. And if you're sitting there and be like, oh my gosh, I do that all the time, you're not alone. That's like how I've come to learn that's like how the industry has been operating, myself included, for years. But now you've heard it. You've heard why this is important to get that documentation in place. So now there's no excuses because there's a free waiver right here. Okay. All right. That's everything. I hope that was helpful. And now we can go into some Q&A. I did put in some popular Q&A question, some questions we get. So feel free to screenshot these, but I will stop sharing my screen here shortly, so I can share my face, for better or worse.
That's
Yeah.
great. Hans, and thank you. I put the offer for the bonus license you get two, link termageddon.com/A2. And then I put the links to the waiver, website waiver sales tool in the chat for everybody. So go there and take advantage of those free things that Hans has offered today. It's all ready to go for you. Hans, we started way back on your 5 points, and like this, it's like accessibility, and we've done accessibility content through and training through A2, but it's very similar to mine. It's a good thing to do. Good thing to be protecting data. Like if you share that we have this, it's because you have a message there. We care about you and your customers. And but I was thinking about all that good to do. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going. And I mean, Hans, from as a previous agency owner too, here's my first question for you. By the way, I think this could be a whole new webinar or an interview or something, but how would you pitch this to a client as an agency owner?
Yeah. Also thank you. It seems like we're getting some positive responses. So thank you all. I get so nervous doing these presentations. So I'm happy to hear there's some good vibes, going. Um, so the word pitch is not the way I would approach it. My thought is education. So I feel like, well, actually, I can confidently say I know the average business owner has no idea about this stuff. I know it because I've had thousands of phone calls with small business owners over the years, where they downplay it, like, "Oh man, I can't believe I have to talk about this." Like they don't want to think about it because no one's ever thought about it, and very few of us, if any of us, ever click on privacy policies outside of my wife. And I get that, and that's the problem. And that's also, kind of the situation and the problem, which is that no one wants to value it. No one wants to take the time to think about it. And I get it. They're boring. They kind of dry and everything like that. Well, they're dry because you're supposed to provide exactly what you're required to make under the laws that apply to you. And that's why they're dry, because you're specifically required to make specific disclosures. I believe in coming from a place of education, and that waiver I provide, I think, is just such an easy way to implement this thing into your processes, whether you include it into your contract prior to engaging with a customer, or if you have them sign it right before launching the site. provide education and let them make the decision. That's, I guess that's more my pitch to you, the agency owner, which is that you have an opportunity to put this in your processes where you know you're going to be educating your clients each and every time. You know you're going to leave them with the best options on what they can do about it and let them make the decision. So I don't believe in forcing clients to sign up with Term Again. I do not believe that. I don't even believe in forcing them to sign up with an attorney. I believe in providing them information on what is a privacy policy, what is a terms, what is a disclaimer, what is a cookie policy, why they exist, the consequences of not having them, and I have them sign a waiver saying, look, I may have built the site for you. I may have installed all these tools that collect all this data, but I'm not responsible for your legal compliance. Please sign this waiver, acknowledging I told you this and acknowledging what you want to do about it. And so the pitch is more a pitch of education and letting them sign off on what they plan to do. So,
Yeah.
and then for our agency partners, we also have like a pre-written email sequence. So like, how do I message my past clients who have launched a site for years ago and I never told them about this stuff? Like, how do I educate past clients who have already built a site for, and we have free assets for our partners on that as well. So education is key.
Thank you. I love that. And that value comes through is, for me, I think based on what you said is, hey, I just need you to know I'm shipping this, but there's a lot of regulations out there regarding your website. I just got to, let you know my responsibility to you is like, you need privacy policy, a terms of service, those things. Here are some options for that.
Yes.
One of those is, the agency doing that for them.
Yep.
So, I think I love the education value.
Awesome. And also just for those, just wanted to have like a little asterisk there. When you're reselling as a partner, you really all you're doing is handling the billing. You share the license with your clients so they get access to their their own Term Again account. And we notify them directly when new laws go into effect and all that stuff. So don't feel like you're going to be responsible for communicating privacy laws on an ongoing basis. I don't support that. In fact, I believe in when presenting like something like a waiver, it starts off like, I'm not an attorney. Like I just know this is important in my industry and I want you to be aware of it. I don't want to hold this information back and find out you're getting a demand letter 2 years from now for 50 grand because of something I could have easily just provided you day one. So that's the value.
That's fantastic. You're helping the client. Um, okay, let me get to the questions now.
Yeah.
Um, so, and by the way, Hans said this earlier. I should have said it again, but I'm going to say it again. Hans is not a lawyer. He is not your lawyer. Termageddon is not your lawyer either. He's giving advice from a practical standpoint as a former agency owner, someone that deals with this stuff all day, every day. So, Hans, you keep saying your disclaimers. I want to as well. But this is a guide to help you navigate and your clients these things that have been set up in a great fashion. Okay, so Helen says, we're a very small business, do not buy ads. We do allow people to sign up for a mailing list. What do we actually need?
Okay, so I want to reiterate, nothing I share today is legal advice. But when I hear a website is, actually, I'm going to ask this person to think to yourself, are you sharing data? What's your immediate thought? No, I'm not sharing data, or yes, I am? Because this surprises a lot of people. When we have a form on our website for a newsletter sign up, people put in their email, we share that data with MailChimp, with Constant Contact. We are sharing their data. We're collecting it, and then we're sharing it with third-party tools like MailChimp to be able to send email newsletters. And therein lies just, whoa, I share data. Like, I'll give you another example. If you have a general contact form where people type out and submit their details to you on a contact page and you receive an email in your inbox, you've just shared data with your email service vendor, Gmail, G Suite, Outlook, any third-party server you've just shared data with. Sharing data is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's like what allows us to run businesses efficiently. But is it a disclosure requirement? Absolutely, under multiple privacy laws. So for that example, hey, we're a really small business. We just have a form that asks for people to sign up with newsletters. It makes complete sense. You want to grow a newsletter list. That's an asset for your business. Regulations, though, are in place that say, like, I'll give you an example. CiPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, applies the moment you collect that email address from a California visitor. Nevada Revised Statute Chapter 603A. The moment, well, you have to do business, offer business services in Nevada, I believe it is, and then collect data. That law can apply. Canada's PIPEDA. If you get a Canadian subscriber to submit their data, you collected data from a Canadian, PIPEDA, Canada's federal privacy law applies. So I know you're small, and I know it's gotta be so annoying hearing this, like, "Oh, I'm so small, I just wish this stuff didn't apply to me." I agree. I think that's I don't think that's how it should be. I think small business owners should have just one global privacy law that's very easy to follow and very easy to respect and just move forward. Unfortunately, that's just not the world we live in. Like, so you very well may be required, to have a privacy policy to and maybe you've done geolocation blocking and only people in your jurisdiction are the only people who can access your site, and then maybe you don't have any privacy laws. Okay, maybe you can get by without a privacy policy, but I have an assumption your website's available to anyone anywhere. Yeah, multiple laws can apply. Not to mention, I hear so many times, all we have is a contact form. All we have is a newsletter sign up. When then I look at their site, it's like, oh, wait, behind the scenes, you got reCAPTCHA loading. You've embedded a YouTube video. You got Google Analytics installed. You're collecting all this data behind the scenes. And again, not bad things. We collect it for analytics purposes, security purposes. These aren't bad things. It's just disclosure requirements. So I would encourage you to revisit your back end of your website. Make sure you aren't using third-party scripts. And if all you have is a newsletter, even still, chances are you would need a privacy policy, at least under a couple privacy laws.
And that's very important. And so just as he was saying, like, you need to make your own decisions. I'll say this is risk management. It is, what is my tolerance for risk? But no, if you have these things, there is a potential. But how you're making those decisions for yourself or your clients is what the tolerance is for risk. Can your small business, can you maybe skate by it? But that's up to you if that's worth that. But what I'm hearing right now, Hans, is like when you said sharing data, I didn't even think about the fact that I've got MailChimp, I've got YouTube, I've got Facebook, I've got different things connected in some way where data is being passed
Mhm.
over. And that's where these laws are trying to protect the right use of that sharing data. But you gave me a rubric back then, with like, whoa, there's way more than I'm thinking to this whole thing.
That one definitely opens up a lot of minds, myself included. Like, I honestly my wife had to drill it into me for, like, 3 months. Like, I was like, "No, I don't share data," and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, everyone's sharing data." Like,
Everyone should.
and it becomes real, and I think the reason why that happens is because I think a lot of people mix up the word sell and share. Sharing, extremely common. Selling people's data, not as common. And I gotta provide an asterisk because California loves to mess things up. Technically, California CPRA defines sell and share differently, but I'm gonna keep it simple here with what I just shared. So
Yeah. So there's a something for everybody today. Is just know that I would venture to guess with almost 100%, if you have a website doing stuff, you're in some way potentially sharing data. So
yeah,
this conversation applies to
modern
all of us.
websites. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Oh, and Helen asked a follow up. So you talked a lot about cookies in the past. I don't know if this is what Termageddon does too, but what do you suggest for that cookie consent side of things?
Yeah. So term again, our tool. Well, I should probably give a generic thing. I'll come from term again, but then I'll just discuss it in general. So term again, goal number one, find out what laws apply because that will dictate absolute everything else. To many people's surprise, a GDPR cookie consent is fundamentally different than a California CPRA consent. So get ready, people. You not only need one cookie consent, you need different types based on what laws apply. So goal number one, find out the laws apply. That dictates the cookie consent. So term again's tool, we find out the laws that apply, determine the framework you need or the frameworks you need, and then produce a cookie consent that helps capture consent or opt out preferences, depending on the laws that apply, based on the user's location. So websites typically use cookies. Cookies are not a bad thing, they're a great thing. They help websites function correctly. They help you understand how people use your website. It's just that some of these cookies, we need consent first prior to placing those cookies on the user's browsers. And in particular, third-party cookies are what a lot of legislation is around, and a lot of what when fines get issued or lawsuits get filed or demand letters get issued, that tends to be around third party technologies. So when we have a visitor visit the website and all of a sudden you just took their data and sent it off to a Facebook or what I've shared earlier. Um, so yeah, so a properly built cookie pop up depends on what laws apply, but in general, they are to opt people out by default and only after a user gives an explicit action, meaning they click accept all or they select what they want to accept to and consent to that. Only then are we allowed to share or let those scripts load and share data and place cookies. So
So thank you for that. That's the explanation. I love that because that's the gate to help with all this, and it's a vital part of this. Does Termageddon do that?
yeah. So we
Okay.
provide a privacy policy questionnaire, figures out the laws that apply, generates the privacy policy, and then right after it's like, okay, now you need to add your cookie policy and consent tools. So then our scanner goes and scans the site and produces a cookie policy and the cookie consent. So, and for any WordPress people out there, we have a plugin that's really awesome because it allows you to really easily install the cookie consent. And then you have geolocation where you can select to only display the cookie consent to people in California, Canada, EU, and UK, for example. So like if I have a business, I'm local in Arkansas or something, I don't really want to show the cookie consent just yet to people in Arkansas, but I still want to show it to the people that have those privacy rights. You have that ability to do that within our plugin.
Okay. And by the way, so Hans gave the link to 2 free licenses. So get in there and use it yourself. So there's the free tool for you with baked in the other side. So there's one side, Hans, I haven't looked at some of the plugins that might be out there, solutions, but like that's one part is the cooking consent. There's the other part, which is big, which is navigating everything you just mentioned. How does this apply? What am I, needed to be in line with? And that's why I want to mention again Termageddon's, or I'm sorry, Hans's free offer there for 2. So do it for your own site. You need to do it. You know that today, right? Use it yourself, see how it works, and then you have other options for your clients.
And I feel bad. Like, I'm sorry, everyone, just so you know, like I started this conversation off with Corey. I was like, I just want to be educational. I don't want this to be a sales pitch. And I apologize. Like, I don't want to come off that way. Like is not where my passion lies. My passion lies in providing education. I think that's what we as agency owners need to do. So hopefully those free assets, you don't need to join Term again. Just take those free assets and do whatever you want with them. So
and by the way, so everybody knows, I should have said this at the beginning. I asked Hans for this something.
oh,
He's already donating his expertise and experience about this to share with you to be better. But I asked him to offer something too. So I asked him for 2 things to give you. And so that was my motivation. And I do that with all of our A2 webinars and hosts we have is if they have something they want to share, whether it's an offer or whether it's a free thing, please do that. So that was me.
we
By the way.
and we also still need to honor the swag and free Termagant license for the furthest personal way and the coldest location. So we got to remember that too.
Let's do that. By the way, there's a bunch of questions here. I'm gonna ship all of these questions over to Hans because
Do you want to do like a rapid fire?
yeah, let's do it. But just so you know, go check out his podcast. There's a ton of content on this site. You can follow him online. I gave some of those socials to learn more about Hans. And you should, I'm going to ask you in a minute where you typically show up besides the podcast. I know you're a member of the admin group, great group over there led by Kyle Van Dusen. You're active in that. So I'd encourage you both, Termageddon and the admin board. They're great outlets for agency owners. Okay, questions back here. That someone goes, raise hand. What is the difference between privacy policy, terms of service?
Great question. So, privacy policy explains the rule or explains what information your website collects, who you share that data with. We just talked about how you share data with like MailChimp, like email marketing providers or email service providers. So, what data you collect, who you share it with, for what purposes. A privacy policy provides the disclosures you're required to make under the privacy laws that apply to you. It really is that simple. So find out the laws that apply to you, make the disclosures required under those laws. That's really all it comes down to. It explains your privacy practices as a business owner. Terms, otherwise known as terms and conditions, terms of service, terms of use, these are generally interchangeable words. And this is a document that explains the rules to using your website. So privacy policies are there to comply with privacy laws, limit and not, avoid privacy related fines and lawsuits. Terms are more just like basically a bunch of statements designed to help you avoid lawsuits related to your website in general by explaining just a bunch of rules. And I'll give you an example for a term. So, terms of service, you may have a disclosure like, hey, we offer links to third-party sites. We're not responsible when you click on one of those links. So if you click a link on our site and that site gets hacked and you get hacked, you can't come back and sue us. Basically, the terms is a laundry list of statements like that, which are kind of like obvious to website owners and agency owners. Like, of course, not obvious to everyone. And that's why a laundry list of disclosures need to be made. Also, a little asterisk to terms, which is that terms can also have e-commerce disclosures, shipping policy, refund policy, things like that. So Terms is not only designed to help you limit your liability, aka avoid lawsuits related to your website, but it also is there to help comply with consumer protection laws, explaining refund policies and stuff like that as required under the consumer protection laws that apply to you. So terms kind of are twofold, but in general, it's to limit liability and comply with consumer protection laws. Take it a step further. Let's talk about a disclaimer. A disclaimer is like an extension pack to a terms, and it's only needed under some circumstances if you offer affiliate links. Oh wait, I'm supposed to rapid fire questions. So I'll
That's
stop. I'll
okay.
stop.
Keep going. This is good.
Okay, if you offer affiliate links, anything that could be seen as health advice or legal advice, if you offer advertisements from third-party companies on your website, or if you sell any health products like diet pills or weight loss pills, or provide anything that could be seen as financial success advice type stuff. Cookie policy is an extension pack to a privacy policy. It's needed under some, not all privacy laws. That's, yeah, it's a disclosure of your cookies that you use on your website.
That's so awesome. Hey, everybody, put a +1 in the chat if you want Hans back because I want him back. Okay, so you mentioned disclosure. Okay, how about Shopify? Someone is also using Shopify for their e-commerce potentially. How about that?
Awesome. Yeah. So Shopify is an e-commerce platform. I don't know
Does,
with context.
does Termageddon work for Shopify?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We work with all web platforms that I'm aware of, at least. So
Okay, should have clarified that. Uh, Ann says, "How long is the reseller offer available?" And I think Ann, you might be asking about the 2 free side licenses, but also if you could extend to how you do the recurring commissions on if you sell
yeah.
those to clients, et cetera.
Yeah. So the landing page, I'm not taking it down. I'm don't share that publicly, please. Like, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep that link live for as long as you need. But it does take like I don't know, 20 seconds to fill out the form, just so you know. In terms of reseller program, yeah, when you buy licenses from us at wholesale, one at a time, it remains at that price ongoing every year. And you would just invoice the client the full retail price, which remains the same price. There's no hidden fees. Turning at $119 a year retail. And then we have wholesale prices, which we'll share with you if we approve you to the agency partner program. We pay you recurring commissions for the lifetime law referrals. There's no like hiddenness to that. Like it's renewal comes in, we auto pay you. So, forever until the client cancels. So hopefully that helps.
It's win together. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I'm getting the question. Look at all the +1s over there.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
In the context of evolving AI tools, how do you balance innovation with ensuring that user privacy is not compromised in unexpected ways?
Yeah, so we're monitoring AI laws. Right now, there are no AI laws that impact policies in terms of policy disclosures. Could that change in the future? Yes, but right now it doesn't really impact things. Now, if you're talking about like data that's submitted into AI, I think that's a whole separate conversation because I'm more so focused on website stuff. But data being put into AI, oh boy, that's Pandora's box. So I'm going to decline to comment on that. Just for the sake of get a beer with me and let's talk sometime. Like I would love to chat about that in a further context.
Okay, so Kelly says there's so many options. Shouldn't I just select everything on every option to be covered?
Oh, great question. So in general, I like to overdo it rather than underdo it, but we got to balance out the fact that we're trying to just provide accurate information to our listeners. So take the time to digest what's going on. Why do you collect the data? It's not as scary as it sounds. Like, why do you have a contact form? So you can provide services. Why do you have an analytics tool? To get website analytics. Don't feel like some of our options are like to reach out to government authorities. Like, come on, that typically is not needed for our typical customer. So, and also at the top of our questionnaire, we have a little link where I explain each question, and also each question has a little support article showing how you best can answer it.
Awesome. Okay, one last one.
Size does matter, Warren. Yes, size matters. California, you referenced 25 million. Yeah, I believe I shared those exact numbers as well as driving 50% or more of the revenue from the sale of personal information. But don't forget, California has CiPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, and COPA, the California Privacy Protection Act. Both of those California laws, California has 3. Both of those laws apply the moment you collect the data of a single Californian or share that data under CiPA, share that data with a third-party monitoring system. So you got to be cautious. Some states have more than one privacy law. Hope that helps.
Right. Hey, you know what you got with Hans here. I'm going to be asking him back and begging him to come back, but you got a ton of +1s here. This has been a loaded presentation. Thank you so much for helping train us. You actually got a +2 just now. So thank Somebody's voting twice, but it'll work. So we want to have Hans back, and Donetta, who you haven't met yet. We hope to get her on the podcast, but she's up to big things now with the U and next level.
Yeah, she's next level. So,
But
final boss.
we want to have Hans back. Thank you, Hans, for all of this. This is crazy. I know you could continue for the next 4 hours, but I don't want to ask that of you. You got things to run in the company. But head over to termageddon.com/A2, and you can get the free 2 bonus licenses. Follow Hans Termageddon online. Please say thank you for what he's done today. This is him donating this expertise to us, this time to us. So be sure you say thank you. And Hans, we so much appreciate you, and we'll be talking, I hope. But for you and Donetta, happy break, however you celebrate it. Hope you have some downtime, and everybody that's listening, thank you for being here on our A2 hosting show with another great, awesome guest and friend, Hans from Termageddon.
Thank you all so much. Always good seeing you, Corey.